Here's a quote. This is by two PhDs, psychotherapists who created this system of developmental trauma healing that I studied, called NARM, the Neuroaffective Relational Model. And I think they really bring a sense of the life force and energy into psychotherapeutic dynamics. So they say our greatest desire is to feel alive. Meaninglessness, depression, many other symptoms are reflections of our disconnection from our core vitality. So I'm going to read that again. Meaninglessness, depression, many other symptoms, including physical symptoms, are reflections of our disconnection from our core vitality. When we feel alive, we feel connected. And when we feel connected, we feel alive. Although it brings mental clarity, aliveness is not primarily a mental state, nor is it only sensory pleasure. It is a state of energetic flow and coherency in all systems of the body, brain, and mind. So coherency is a really good theme to start to think about in your work. You'll have moments where you feel like you're a little bit in the weeds when you're working. Like you might just be like you're up against some tension, maybe some tensions arising in you. You feel like I don't know where I am right now. And I want to say that's all okay. Like we like in this theme of acceptance, we kind of want to accept whatever's going on in the field in a healing session. There's information for us there. Like we don't have to pressure ourselves to make the session different than how it's unfolding. That there's an organic process that's happening, that if we can be present with whatever's there, whatever's arising, and stay grounded in our presence, that it supports things coming more towards this state of balance or homeostasis, harmony. So when that happens, you'll feel a kind of coherency. And often as you do this work, you'll feel it you'll see it in the client. They'll just come in, they'll be very scattered maybe in their thinking. They're sort of all over the place, or they're suffering from symptoms, they're divided against themselves, there's a conflict going on in the body or in the mind. And at the end, there's just a kind of like, there's a clarity, a oneness, there's a coherency in their field. Often you can sense a wider field around them. Let's do that right now, just even as you're sitting here, and just imagine like my field I feel about here, and I'm just going to pull it out to about here. So just see if you can sense what kind of compression you feel around you, and just see if you can just widen that. Just take it out a foot or so, or feel what's right for you. Maybe it's a few inches, just to widen the space of what you sense around yourself, your aura. And take it even a little bit further. So maybe it expands more towards the edges of the room. You might even take it out to the neighborhood. Don't forget the space behind you too, so extending in all directions. And just see how that kind of centers you or brings a little bit of peace into your system. So by and large, like when we're working, we want to hold a pretty wide space within ourselves, we don't want to be so wide that we're like spaced out and, kind of floating out there in the ethers, because we want to also have this grounding. And part of the reason I start my sessions, a lot of times I'll start at the feet, is let's first ground into the body. Let's bring the person down into their sensory, somatic experience, where they're not just in this mind, chatter up here, that they have some sense of connection to their physical self. And then I do some kind of connection to, there's different ways I do it, there's different ways practitioners do it, but it's like this inner light, or sometimes they say, and I'll give you guys scripts for these different versions of you might use, but one I say is, I invite you to tune into, and you guys can do this for yourselves right now, tune into an image or a sense of whatever your highest guidance is for today. And that's a it's a nice open invitation, because some people might have some spiritual or religious thing that they associate with that, and others might not, but they still have guidance in their lives. And just see what an image or sense of your highest guidance arises for you right now. And you often sense it as I don't know, a kind of lightness in the field. It's kind of uplifting in a way. It's drawing you up towards the heavens versus this other exercise of grounding down into the earth. So we have these two poles, this Mother Earth that's drawing us down, gravity, Father Sky, drawing us upward, towards the heavens and evolution. And if you can kind of have those two for yourself with a wide space around you, you're already starting from a really nice regulated place that's going to be really welcoming for the client to come into your field. And also to know that in the work we're doing, the energy, there's a natural resonance that happens. You could feel it in this group from where we started, and you can feel it person to person when you're working with people that you're both kind of finding your way of, coming in resonance with each other, but you're holding the neutral ground in a way. So I'm going to do one more quote by these guys. So I just put this picture because part of this connection to that higher intelligence, when the life force is freed up from compensatory patterns, there's love there. It's like underlying all this energy we're talking about is love. It might sound a little woo-woo or something, but it's a kind of unconditional acceptance, unconditional love, which many of us didn't feel, at times or all the time when we're growing up. That when we're met with this unconditional acceptance, that the compensatory patterns, the protectiveness naturally starts to release. It naturally starts to let go of some of the holding, and that holding can have a lot of devastating effects. It can create diseases through stress, or tension, mental illness, a lot of problems in relationships, a lot of problems in general, and so don't discount what power can come from simply holding a field of unconditional acceptance. That's really the ground underneath all this energy. When we feel that energy moving through us, we are able to love ourselves and love others, or connect with ourselves and connect with others, and to feel this positive movement. There's a natural positive movement towards health. That's what this quote is about. The spontaneous movement in all of us is towards connection, health, and aliveness. No matter how withdrawn or isolated we have become, or how serious the trauma we've experienced, on the deepest level, just as a plant spontaneously moves towards sunlight, there is in each of us an impulse moving toward connection and healing. So I want you to take that in, that that impulse was within you. That's what brought you to this training, I imagine. I don't know. Maybe there's some people who've been drawn into a Polarity, program thinking, I don't know, they're going to be millionaires or something. I don't know. But most people are here because they've just either had a healing experience, they want a healing experience, and they want to be in the flow of other people's healing. And that's kind of organic. It's actually within all of us. And every client that shows up at your office, even if they're really negative, in the frame of mind, some part of them on the deepest level wants to improve. And sometimes people will disown that because they don't feel able to say, like, I want something better for myself. They might have shut that down, or felt they had to shut that down. But there they are. There's a lot of agency to in order to find you, to make an appointment, to show up at your office, to get money out of the bank. That takes a lot of decisions, and there's some part of them that has decided, like, I want to try this. I want whatever's here for me. It's a little tricky with what we're doing because we can't always clearly explain this in a nugget. It's a little challenging. So but to some degree, people are just drawn to it almost magnetically. They find it in a certain way.